Hey guys, welcome to the morning meeting. It is a late morning meeting. I feel like we've had a lot to kind of do this morning. So we're going to have a couple of changes. There's been some great suggestions. So the first is that we're going to cover just 2 wastes, and we're going to find out active examples of what we have in the workshop. And you just have to, we'll identify one of the 2 wastes. Once we've got to 2, we'll have to identify the same waste, but try and find a different example of what's going on in there. We're changing issues to problems just to kind of rename and kind of make you think about it differently. And it'll include any problems that are affecting today. And we're going to cover a little bit of health and safety, which I think is actually a really great idea, because it also covers our own compliance. Phil was saying in New Zealand it helps with them, but I think it'll help anywhere, wherever you are in the world. So. Okay, so we do identify 2 wastes. So I will start with the first one, and I think I'm going to start with motion. And a typical example of motion is actually an injection mould machine here. In that, so Jacob, when you're doing protection circuits from a seated position, as you move through, you have to come in and come to a standing position to do the injection moulding. So, so when we move, as I think I said before, it was either changing the layout so that it's all standing desk, etc., or like the way it flows, and whether or not you can still do electronics from a seated position, but there's a second person that's then doing the injection moulding from one standing position. And then there's also the test position. The test unit is like in the wrong place. It should be probably the other side. Just from an access point of view, when you're doing something.
Even like up here even would work.
So anyone else want to give us another waste?
Transportation.
Transportation, okay.
Say with when Joe brings parts from the container, powder coating, if he does bigger batches, he usually comes in by hand still.
Yeah.
Where instead of that, we could have like an actual designated padded box when we move to the unit. That's to have maybe not egg trays, because then we can't, the rods still, it's a bit dodgy with the egg trays with the rods, because it kind of balances.
Motion and transportation.
No, we
were discussing this earlier and saying that transportation actually includes, sorry, I keep saying that transportation is just delivery and whatever, but actually it includes any movement of any goods or parts or whatever. Motion is more about when you're
the person
when you're actually moving.
A human.
But transportation is when you move any parts.
You can say it's both of them then, because if he doesn't have a box and he's got to go back and forth.
It's kind of adds to both.
So I was thinking, I've seen, it might be Pearson Work Holding or it might be someone else. They do like crates and things that are literally designed for specific parts.
Yeah.
So literally as each part is finished, it goes in this crate, and it also helps you with the count.
Yeah.
Because again, it's in grids of whatever, 5 by 5
can
or
you
whatever.
get like custom built
probably make
foam
them.
trays? Okay.
We'd have to make them. It's not something yet. I mean, why would we pay for someone else to do it when we can do it all in house? It makes sense. And plus, we change stuff so often that we'll do the first iteration and go, and within an hour of using it, we'll be like, I can already see a improvement that can be made here or whatever. Okay.
I've got one more, just quickly.
On the motion or transportation?
No, it's another one.
Okay, go on.
Overproducing.
Okay, go on. What's doing
Me and Max literally just found out that Joe actually did quarter tops, the ultra wides, all of them, and then
I guess he didn't tell you. Yeah, he didn't tell you, and then you done 6 extra. Yeah.
I need one extra ultra wide.
Oh really?
Because I went in this tray and there was 5, and I was swearing a lot and going Joe, and so I made that extra one.
Oh, okay.
And only because I cut some in there. He's put them down there as well.
Yeah. So
so we had no production.
We had extra anyway.
Okay, so and the problem is we're not likely to use those ultra wide tops for a while, and who knows, we might change the design by then, so they might be no good by that point. I mean, hopefully we don't, but you know what we're like.
Communication's not our strong point.
Yeah, Joe. I feel like Joe's weak point is counting. I don't know why he struggles with counting, but we need to somehow help him there.
It's always 1 less or 1 more.
Yeah.
Or 2 less and 2 more.
I don't know. I mean, again, maybe having that box where it's like numbered, so it's like literally, and maybe it needs to have physical numbers on it or whatever, and he can actually actively go, I was meant to do 6. Oh, there's only 5 in there.
Yeah, okay.
because after the time I find there's one missing, I'm going, James, where's that other one? And he's changed powder.
Yeah, always in his pocket.
So, yeah. Okay, Jacob. So you,
Yes.
so you don't have to find another waste. You can just find just an example of one of the apparently 3 that we found today instead of 2.
The movement, as you said, from here to over here, is always interesting.
Yeah. Come on, new, come on.
I know. I'm really just trying to think now. All of the plastic out here, it's always like everywhere.
Yeah. Okay.
Other than that,
So maybe, you know, like it's the way that plastic ends up on the floor.
yeah.
And so you end up having that extra motion to have to sweep up on the floor. So again, you know what I'm saying about that box? If you have the box here, I mean, what we'll do is when we move the injection moulding, what we'll do is have a table and have a cutout in it with a bin that attaches underneath.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Straight in.
That'd be really
That
good.
would solve
Yeah.
that. But I mean, for the time being, I think if you use one of these little plastic boxes and just literally just all the plastic as it cuts off just straight into that box, then you've just literally just got that to there.
Yeah.
And that will save you a little bit. Okay, cool. So any new problems found? Anything problem-wise that's going to affect us today? And we already just identified one, didn't we?
I've got one.
Okay.
So after Clive's, I'm a bit stuck on assembly because I haven't got any black to do starlights, which is in yellow at the moment.
Black to do starlight?
It's only one spike as well, and we've got no black.
I'm aware. So that one literally was only added this morning.
Oh, okay.
It was added this morning. Basically, it was an order that was actually meant to be done a while ago. It was meant to be sent with Starlight's last one.
Oh, okay.
And he contacted and said, "Oh, I didn't get that one with that order. I thought it would have come at the same time." And I think it was when we were really, really busy, flat out, and I missed it.
But it's only one spike.
It's just one spike. Yeah,
we
we've got
ordered
the rods.
quite a lot of the same 4,000 K3. Was it just?
It was one separate order, really randomly.
Right. So it's not like one missing or anything?
No, it was actually one actually separate as a separate order, and we'd invoiced it but not added it to the system, which is why it never even got.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's my fault.
So with the 12 watts in yellow, like.
Oh, smart.
We're stuck on
yeah.
that as
Well, I know about that because we couldn't because they weren't machined. We couldn't powder coat. If they were machined and whatnot, we would have anodised and powder coated them. We should have gotten out of the way. So all we can do is hope that we get the keys today, and either stuff gets moved today or it gets moved tomorrow, and that we get it up and running by the end of tomorrow.
Yeah.
But if that can happen, then I agree. Starlights might not go out. It's due out tomorrow as well. I'd put it in, but it might not go out tomorrow. It might go out the day after. It's not great, but it's not. I don't think it's huge. Talking to Joe, he was kind of like, just as soon as you can. So. Okay, and then lathe was the other problem, wasn't it? This morning we had the live bearing go, and that's the maintenance issue.
Yeah.
Because we've got no maintenance plan at all for the lathe. So we'll put down lathe, or like everything, all machinery maintenance really. But we need a plan of action with regards to what we're doing every week, and the other thing is compressors, because every week we should be maintaining the compressors. It's actually part of the HSE guide notes. It tells you about actually maintaining them, so we'll put in a plan. There's a lot of stuff that's like as we move.
Yeah.
But we'll get there. Okay, anything else? No. Okay, so I mean that kind of covers our plans to solve as well. I'm just going to skip over the lean video just for a minute and just come down to the next one. Projects. I know we kind of bring this up every day. Sorry, and I just wanted. Have you made any progress on or the raw material side of things?
I've kind of got a rough idea of like quantities.
Okay. So you need to maybe start detailing out those quantities, and again feeding that back to me. I've already seen your great idea about the graph levels, easily implemented. I just need to know just what your min-max level should be. Yeah. So if you start and just start identifying the actual raw materials and making sure that they're up to date in the system as well.
Should we do it for electronics as well? Should I say what the min-max is for?
Yeah, we should do.
Yeah.
Jacob should be
handy,
key in deciding what those min-max levels are. as well, from your own
I reckon,
experience that
like,
you're developing now?
100 would be. It's getting a bit low, I would say.
Okay, so
About-
so 100 might be your min level.
Yeah, yeah.
So you know, like you just need to just start identifying that. So if it's 100 polyfuses, then it's 200 diodes
Yes.
and 300 sockets.
Yes.
Because that's what it requires to make 100 boards.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
I think with LEDs it would be different.
Oh yeah.
And
What's-
PCB boards is probably going to have a higher min
I
level
think it
than.
depends on the delivery time scales of each component.
Okay.
So if it
That's
LED
true as well.
take its next working day,
So maybe.
it'd be you'd build you get by with a board, 2 boards maximum a day. So 50 LEDs would be the minimum level.
Okay, so
You
maybe
have to order more.
the min level is determined by the delivery
Yeah,
time scale.
that's what I was thinking.
Because aluminium material,
Yeah.
raw material, we can
You
get
could-
mostly next day or day after.
Day
So you can
after,
have
same
quite a
day
low
after,
min
yeah.
level.
You could
And that's
put
good.
one.
It's good because when we're working just in time,
Yeah,
we do
you
want to have
that.
low stock levels.
Yeah.
But printed circuit boards, for argument's sake, we take 2 weeks to get
Yeah.
hold of.
Yeah.
So, you know, you might say that then if you're saying we produce now 125 lights a week, you need three
you
boards
got to
minimum
work out how much
before
we actually
before
use
we
a
prompt
week
a new order.
on average.
Cool. My own project with regards to inventory, I haven't progressed any further. I was just doing some other bits and pieces in the back end, but it's one of these things that's going to take a lot of time to get in. It's just because there's so many different systems. But Jacob's side, I would say, is now done.
Okay.
Or relatively, you know, like if obviously there's anything you want to, you know, like feedback to me that you think, oh, that could be better or whatever, then that's
Yeah.
cool. But it's workable. It, like, you know, it ticks it off and it updates the stock levels and that kind of thing. It's just now a requirement for us to basically go and work out how much stock we actually have in the first place.
Yeah.
Because at the minute lots of things are in minus figures, just because they were 0 when we started. Okay. I'll come back to plan of the day after our video. Health and safety. So LED panel drops nearly on your head.
Second time.
Which is not great. But again, that's a place issue, workplace issue, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, like in terms of where we are now. Where we move to, it won't be like that, I suppose.
I hope.
Yeah, I blame electrician too.
Exhibit A.
Yeah.
Compensation money.
If there's a blame, there's a claim, Jamie. Is that where you're going with this?
That's where I'm going.
I guess actually, so coming into sweep, coming back into the sweep side of things, there's been a lot of mess around. Like yesterday, I wasn't really in, obviously doing all the bits and pieces, and there was quite a lot of mess in here. So I know it's hard because we're in such a limited space, but trying to, again, let's try and get some of the rubbish out and whatnot, and then we'll reduce our tripping hazards and instead having to step over stuff. Okay, so should we do our lean video?
Yep.
And then we'll come back in. Right, okay. So I just want to cover something just because it's just right top of mind at the moment off the back of that video. So it was talking about pattern mixing and obviously our production in terms of if we were to relay it here, it would be like going, oh well, we're just going to produce backs or tops for like 2 days or 3 days, and then we'll produce all the other components for the rest of the week. It's kind of similar to that. Now, it's interesting because I talk to some different people in CNC and different people in that kind of industry, and they say to me, well, you know, you need to just, the setup is the longest bit, so you need to just run that machine on that part for as long as you can. I disagree with that, because to me, if there's a problem, that problem is a massive, that's what we used to do. We used to have a massive problem with that. And even if you do as many checks as you possibly can, something can happen on the machine, whatever, offsets move, anything, you could just miss something. I've done it tons of times, I'm sure we all have, and I personally don't believe it's right. Now the reason I say that is because normally I'd be like, well, that's our only choice, but if you look at Toyota, they basically, I think it was Taichioto, or it might be, I get confused between the son and the father, but basically he was consulted to help Toyota bring down their mould change over time. So let's say when they're producing a car, they have this stamping press that, you know, literally takes sheet metal, rolls the sheet metal and just stamps out the material. Now their changeover time to change out the mould was 4 hours.
Wow, yeah.
Okay, so it's a lot of time. So for them it made sense to do as many as they could of that particular model, and then you change over, because you're like, well, it takes 4 hours to change over. So the owner at the time of Toyota said, I want to get down to 2 hours. So the lean team got together and they worked it out, and I think it was Taichi Ohta was involved, or his father, one or the other, and they basically got it down to 2 hours, and it was a massive success, and they were like, this is great. They got it down to 2 hours, and then it turns out that I believe in Europe there was another car manufacturer, it might be VW or something like that, were getting it under 2 hours. So they were like, right, well we can do better, you know, if they're getting under 2 hours, what's going on here? And they were looking at the moulds and going, well the hardest thing is not getting the mould necessarily in, it was that they were different heights, and you had to get the height set, and that took a lot of time to get the height set. So I might have skipped a little bit forward actually there. So they got they got it down to 2 hours. Then the owner said, I want you to get down to 30 minutes. Okay. Wow. So the one thing that they found was this height setting thing was their main issue. So what they did is they changed the mould, so that no matter what the mould was, they built the extra height or less height into the mould. So the height was always, the closing height was always the same. So it doesn't matter what mould you put in there, you never have to change the height. So you don't have to do that anymore. So that eliminated loads of time. And the second thing they did is they realised there was a lot of prep work they could do before they actually had to stop the production. So the equivalent of that here could be that you already get out your inserts that you're going to do. Do you see what I mean? So you're like, some of the time spent searching for the right inserts, the right drills and the right bits and pieces. So what if you go, right, I know I'm going to do 12 watts. I'm going to do path markers in stainless steel. So I'm going to get out, my end mill ready. I'm going to get out all my stainless steel inserts ready. And then you've already saved yourself probably 5 minutes there, just making sure that those bits are just ready to go as soon as that production stops. So what we need to do is look at our setups and look at where is this taking loads of time, and just reduce it and reduce it and reduce it down, and you know, so that's what we'll be looking at with the setups. And I think that will then mean that we can change frequently and achieve this pattern, you know, matching or production leveling. So yeah, that's my take on it. Yeah. Anyone have any input for the back of the video?
They pretty much covered what I was planning to suggest we couldn't do. Just stating what. So when we used to do big batches, like it used to get a bit hectic near the end of the week.
Yeah.
And especially in the late afternoon.
Yeah.
Like around 2ish, when it just got a bit crazy. Yeah. Building, like that's when we started to actually build.
Yeah. Because you'd be like, oh wow, we got all these backs and all these tops, but we got no lenses or whatever. And you're like building, so and stuff was like
we can finish builds before 12 now.
Yeah. So I think so. From the machining point of view, it's getting those setup times down. But I mean, luckily from our point of view, what we do is we try and maintain a standard of tools.
Yeah.
So I get it where some CNC machinists are like, well, I can't do that because I have to change all the tools out. If you've got to change all the tools out and you've got 20 tools or whatever, I get that. That's a pain in the bum.
Yeah.
But in our case, we keep the tools all the same, more or less, and it's just drill bits that are changing, or inserts types are changing. And if we had probing, that would be even quicker.
Yeah.
So you know, perhaps with the second machine, that will be faster because of that. So again, we'll look to try and standardise and use as few tools as we can, so that we can do as many setups as possible in that same thing. Okay. Good with that?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so I say plan for the day. Really, obviously, you want to get through this Clive architecture job. Get that out of the way. You've already got the 12 watt out of the way, which is great.
The Corten 14.
I mean, it might be worth having a look around through our boxes to see whether or not we've got any parts for Starlights. I mean, I know there was a top, but whether or not that's any good or not, I don't know. We might find a back somewhere. We've got rods.
Yeah.
There's 3 rods there, so we've got rods. I mean, generally, again, looking forward to tomorrow and going, what is there to do tomorrow? I'm expecting that if we get the keys end of the day, then I'm not going to be here. Yeah, I mean, I'll be here just going back and forth, just ferrying stuff and trying to get the stuff bits and pieces in, but get powder coating address and set up that kind of thing. but yeah, we'll have to play it by ear, won't we? Really. Okay. Cool. Everyone happy?
Yep.
Yep.
Good.
Great.